Hey everyone, so I thought we'd take another crack at Shiyana, since a lot of you were kind enough to point out via the Vanguard. So as an additional cost you play it, you may charge your hero's soul any number of times, put one or more cards from your hand into your hero card, which means that we can use it to proc Luminar's Ascension additional hit, which is pretty substantial, right? Because it's an additional hit on both players. We might try this setup, but then we also might try a setup with the shield, right? And running double cash in for the positive hand size. And the main reason for that is via the Vanguard, not only does it have a cost, so we have to pitch a card, we lose a card from hand because we charge our soul, so that's already -2 to the hand size. And then we also need Go Again, which will be Snapdragon Scalers instead of Tome and Mage Master, right? So we can get rid of that, although I need a card to charge, so that's pretty much it, right? We have our pitchable, our chargeable. I don't know if we can weave Steelblade Supremacy that well into it, but the idea would still be to obviously high striker prior to the turn, and that way you can go Blood on the Hands, play both copies, get the +4, right? 2 from each, get the Go Again only twice, and then get the additional time twice as well, right? So that's 8 copper altogether. Cash in off of the crown for the +1. The Blossom of Spring will actually be our way to pay for V of Vanguard, although using it and Steelblade Supremacy is 3, so the Arcanite Shard also covers it. We'll basically play around and see how easy we can sort of set up the combo, because again, off of one hand, and then the more cards we can minus from the hand size necessary is a lot better, because that way you can actually block. You don't have to basically sacrifice a turn for your swing turn, which is a bit rough, because with the flails you're obviously using life. But anyway, let's crack onto Teleshare for some testing. Okay, so it's not the most perfect hand to start off, right? But we do have the Vanguard, we have one Blood on our hands, and we have Luminar's Ascension. Though something I didn't click with, right, with the Vanguard is Taxi Control on the combat chain, get +1 for each light card charged this way. Now, there isn't a great deal of light cards you can run, but that is pretty substantial, right? Being able to then get more pluses onto the Flail of Agonies. So it might be worth sacking the Luminar's Ascension, Blood on her hands, then trying to draw into the other one. I can't remember if we run both copies. We must, right? So if you get, if you get Blood on her hands both off and Luminar's Ascension both off, is that more damage than the +1 from V of the Vanguard? Kind of, because, right, you get 2 swings, and then you get the buffs from Blood on her hands. But there is lots of ways to combo it, right? Again, if the pool was a bit more open, if it wasn't just specialization cards, then, it'd be a lot more flexible. But we digress, we play with what we have. So anyway, we'll Blossom of Spring, start off, right? And then we can go into V of the Vanguard. What do we want to charge with? So I can do the Tome, or we might as well take the damage. We'll see how it pans out, right? So we do that, we pass, that still allows us to pitch for the Steelblade Supremacy. Snapdragon Scalers to give it Go Again, and then we can go into some swings. So then we cash in with Blood on our hands. We want 6 for the first one. Right, and we're picking all the modes, Go Again, and attack twice. Right, so give 1 to each. See, if we take the shield, with Victor's shield, right, the gold shield, then you don't need as much copper, and you can stack all the damage onto one flail. It probably won't work out to the most overall, but you have a greater likelihood of then landing Steelblade Supremacy, right? So against a dummy, we're obviously always going to draw, but yeah, you'd have a much easier time trying to then loop and get into more things, plus you'd need less combo pieces. So it might be worth, again, yeah, running Victor's Shield. We'll try it afterwards, but we're doing 4 damage and drawing a card. We can then play cash in, right? We can pay with the gold. Did I get the +1? So 1 + 2, yeah, we did. We got the other Steelblade Supremacy, which does help. So you can still stick it on the same one, because we kind of want to maximize the damage, I think. So then you do it again. If you hit, you hit. You probably wouldn't. They'd probably block it. But then we get the Luminar's Ascension, which we can play, which then gets it 1 more swing, and then Blood on our hands, right? And we just take the buffs. But still a sizable amount of damage, and it's probably worth more to now swing with the other one, right? And get the most damage out of that. Obviously, we have no more cards to draw, but still 7's nice. And then attacking 3 times for 5. So, God, how much damage was it? Well, we started from full because I didn't do anything else. Yeah, so it was 45 damage in a turn, right? But again, it was reliant on us actually getting the Steelblade Supremacy across to draw, right? Which is a bit problematic. I'm going to try a few different setups and we'll see, but 45 damage feels like the pinnacle-ish, right? Again, depending on the ordering, you might get a little bit more, or again, saving Luminar's Ascension. An extra swing would have been 7 and 5, would have been 12. Minus -5, 6, 7. So it would have worked out to more if I just charged with a different card instead of the Luminar's Ascension, right? Hope I did the math correct. Okay, so we swapped to the shield, right? And I think this is probably a better setup for actual games. And the reason for that is A, you've got the shield to block with, you've got it a bit more flexibility for using cash in, right? If you draw one, you can use either the crown or aurums. If you don't draw them, you can then just use the gold from the crown and save the aurum. But then also the fact that you only need one high striker, right? 4 copper is more than enough. You do kind of want to play both, but now we're just running odds, being able to draw them, right? So for instance, with Via the Vanguard, if we draw Via the Vanguard, well, if you draw both, we can charge it, and that's our light card for the +1. If we don't, we've got the option to use a Blood on Hands. We'd still run 2 high strikers and then use the other one. We can charge Steel Blade Supremacy, right? There's lots of cards for us to actually sack into Via the Vanguard, while also filling out our deck, which is really important. Again, for any sense of combo, you want it to have a good ratio so that you can draw the pieces, and then you also want it to be nice and flexible so you can use different sets of them. In fact, I don't really need the Arclight Shard, right? We'll run that, and we'll see what exactly we get and how much damage we can push with just one flail. But I do like, again, just having it as temper, right? And then you can take, you know, some tanky arms. You can probably swap out the Blossom as well, right? And just pitch a card. Either way, this is an okay start, I think, right? So we can cash in. We can then pay the 1 gold. Is that actually a good start? Keep the shield. So we didn't get, unfortunately, we didn't get our copper generation, but we could probably go into our copper generation off this, right? So you do like Via the Vanguard, you charge with the Steel Blade Supremacy, you then play Luminar's Ascension, and you can already swing twice. Well, it's only 2 damage. No, but you'd want to play Steel Blade Supremacy. You'd go Blossom of Spring, right? You'd play Via the Vanguard. You would then charge a Blood on her hands, I think. Only charge 1 card. Use Snapdragon Scalers. Try and force some block, soak up some armor. Then you could... No, so if I play Steel Blade, I then have to pitch something, and that's a bit problematic because I'd have to get rid of probably Blood on hand since we don't have the copper. But we can still swing twice for 3 damage each. Is that kind of an okay turn? I mean, the nice thing is, obviously, we don't have to play all the combo pieces together. We can just try and be, you know, an aggressive swinger with -1 HP every time, which is a bit detrimental. If there was a way to, you know, counteract that a bit more actively. I mean, you can run, obviously, like Sink Below, Fate Foreseen, the Sigil, and all that will definitely help get you to the combo. But yeah, it's definitely nice to be able to be a bit more flexible with the shield rather than trying to obviously stack and manage both. But we do want to see what the maximum damage is, right? So, in a perfect world, this is what the setup would look like. 8 copper on board, gold on board, cash in, and then 4 cards, right? 2 left in the deck. So we can cash in straight away, use the gold, not the copper, definitely not the copper. And we have our max possible damage, right? Without Steel Blade Supremacy, but obviously this fits because this is an appropriate hand you could technically get to. You'd have to obviously sink a ton of damage, which would be a little bit tricky-some. Tiresome? Tricky. Just tricky. I don't know how I got to 54 HP, that's kind of weird. But yeah, so now we can go, I'm just trying to think before I mess it up, right? So we go Blossom of Spring, we still do Via the Vanguard. We get to charge with the other Via the Vanguard, which is a light card, so we get the +1 damage from that. We don't need to charge anything else. We get to do the Snapdragon Scalers, right? And that puts them to 92. So 92 is where we're starting off with our swings. So now we get to double play Luminar's Ascension, right? Which gets them another action, and then we go Blood on Hands, first one for 6. We can take the buffs, the go again, and the attack twice, spread it around. So now we can attack 4 times with each, and they're doing 3 damage so far, which is kind of okay. It's not a great deal of damage, but the swinging is definitely good, right? And then copper for 2, take the buffs again, and they're now doing 4. So 4, and we get to swing 8 times. Is that correct? No, 5, and we get to swing 8 times. It should be 8 times, right? Twice from Luminar's Ascension, 1 in base, 1 more from... Or... Do you have to use Blood on Hands first? Is that the issue here? I attack twice this turn, right? Or do I miscount? 1 in base, Luminar's Ascension, that's 3. 4. No, I did miscount, right? But so we're doing 20 apiece, which is okay. Plus, then you get the rune chant damage as well. So that's nice. Is that the correct amount of chain links? 4, 3. Wait, no. I did mess up, right? Blood on the Hands is not proccing the may attack twice. So I guess you have to use it first, which you don't get damage from Luminar's Ascension. Okay, we should be able to do this a bit better if I go revert to the start of the turn. So we take, it doesn't really matter, Shiyana, right? Use cash in, don't pay for it with copper, go with gold, right? Blossom of Spring via the Vanguard, charge the other via the Vanguard, pass, use Snapdragon Scalers before I forget. Okay, and now we do Blood on our Hands first, and this allows us to attack twice. We destroy 6, buff, go again, attack twice, right? So we still get the maximum buff damage. Is it better to stack? It's not better because they have the equal amount of swings, right? So stacking damage on 1 doesn't really matter. Again, there might be a way to fit Steelblade Supremacy, but then you're really banking on it landing the hit and getting the draw. I mean, you could swing with the other one and then wait and then use Steelblade Supremacy maybe. That could be the go. But we can use the other Blood on our Hands. This time we take the buff. I'm going to swing first before we use Luminar's Ascension, just to make sure it comes across. Now, it is costing us HP, which is the big thing, but we can swing. I suppose you don't really want to disrupt the chain, though. But we can swing 4 times. Did I miss the buff proc? I think I split up unevenly, didn't I? Anyway, Luminar's Ascension, right? And then Luminar's Ascension. Perfect, they have the double charge. So you do have to worry about ordering. I don't know why the damage is quite different. No, that one's 5. We saw a 3 before, didn't we? Maybe I'm going insane. Anyway, that should be the theoretical max damage, right? You swing 8 times, 5 apiece. So that is, God, 40 damage. Plus you get the rune chant damage, which would be 47, plus the via the Vanguard, if you've used a flail to generate the high striker, which again, you'd have to use something a bit bigger, probably something with Dominate, right, to just try and guarantee it. That's still another 4 damage plus the rune chant 5, so 53, I want to say, which doesn't quite make sense because we're at 47 damage. Let's see the stats, shall we? So we did 46 damage, is that correct? Yeah, it feels like we didn't get the buff on one of the weapons in the first chain. Right? Is via the Vanguard only on the same chain? It might be, that might be the issue. If we just do a quick rematch, actually that never works against the bot. No, it does, perfect. Via the Vanguard, yeah, okay, so you can't close the chain, that's the issue. So you have to use Blood on Hands first. I have the same setup? No, it's a different hand. Oh, God, now I have to get it back. Can I can't revert to the start of the previous turn and get it somehow? No. Alright, let me find it again so we can actually test it properly. Okay, let's do this with the proper ordering. Although weirdly, again, we were doing 5 on the next chain link, right? The first chain link was 3 and then it was 5, which does make sense because via the Vanguard should have buffed the first set and then the second set should have been less damage. But we can go cash in like before, right? Use the gold, not the copper. Perfect, and then we go, so Blood on Hands is the first step. I'm hoping that using this ordering, Talishare understands and Luminar's Ascension gets the additional time. It should. So 6, buff, go again, twice, the usual. Spread it around. Get the little orb, please. Go again, orb. Perfect. Okay, and then we can go other Blood on Hands, might as well. Take the buff. Buff. 1, 2, and we're starting at 97. So whatever the damage is, add 3 back to it, basically. Blossom of Spring, start the chain link. No, because Luminous Ascension still breaks it up, doesn't it? So I guess there's no point in going for the combat chain, right? Because it should always break it up if you want to actually get the damage of Luminar's Ascension. So I guess in that sense, it's worth swinging a bunch first. Right, so you get the go again, do the 4, and then swinging and then Luminar's, right, because it disrupts the chain. So we can swing, we're doing 4 a time. So then turn weapon going +1. The +1 is probably more impactful though, and there's the extra damage that I was missing. Yeah, okay. Well, that's a bit better, because then you don't have to worry about what card you charge with via the Vanguard. Right? So we disrupt the chain, because we want the +1. We get all the orbs, so they can attack 4 times for 5 damage apiece. So there's the 40, plus then again, the rune chance, and the initial B for the Vanguard damage. So either way, you should be able to chip away at them. Is this enough cards that I am tempted to try it again in Blitz? That's the question, because it is great damage output. I mean, the big issue is you have to have 8 life left, right? If you're at 8 or lower, then you can't actually swing. But then you also might not need to do the full amount of damage. But yeah, lots of swings. We get another weapon with even just a cheap cost, right? You could throw in some of the rune chant discount stuff. That could be fun. But the 1 life, definitely manageable. But you'd have to play super defensively. And again, finding, you know, this amount of pieces for the combo is definitely a bit of an issue. You don't need the full 40 damage, right? Definitely. You could probably get away with 30-ish, especially with the Arcane, right? Whether or not they take Arcane against Shiyana is a big if. But yeah, I think the better thing to do would be definitely take the shield, right? Because if you have the shield, you need less copper. All your buffs can stack on 1. You can run Steel Blade Supremacy. You can break it up. You can do Blood on Hands twice instead, right? It's a lot easier because you only need 4 copper per 1. So each High Striker goes into 1. Luminar's Ascension, still a decent buff. Via the Vanguard, charge anything, right? And then you can run 2 cash-ins for draw, and then take all the normal defensive staples of a deck. But either way, via the Vanguard, definitely a much better inclusion, right? Gets you a whole extra swing, which works out to a ton of extra damage. So thanks everyone for pointing that out. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See ya.